Merci, Monsieur le Modérateur. Excellence, Monsieur le
Thank
Ministre,
you, Mr.
Excellence,
Chairman,
Monsieur l'Ambassadeur
Excellency,
Mesdames, Messieurs, je suis ravi et honoré d'intervenir dans cette
Ambassador,
conférence qui aujourd'hui
ladies and gentlemen. It is a great
international
pleasure for me
et
to
grand
speak in
forum
such
sur
a
la question
august
sécurité
forum,
internationale. Il m'est
a
impossible de
really
parler
large forum
de
dedicated
terrorisme
to
ou de migration
security. It's
sans
hard for me
préalablement
to talk about
évoquer
terrorism
la
and
situation
migration,
politique
but
ou de
nevertheless,
crise qui prévaut
I would like to
malheureusement
talk
dans certains
about
pays de
the
la région.
political crisis situation that
L'Algérie,
unfortunately
voisine du Maroc,
afflicted some
connaît depuis le
countries.
22 février
Our
le
neighbors,
développement que le
Algeria,
Royaume suit avec attention, tout en respectant le
since
principe
February
d'universelle
22nd, have been
non
witnessing
ingérence.
certain events that we've been
Bien
monitoring,
que plusieurs
but we
médias
are
et
not
partis
interfering.
tentent d'impliquer le
And
Maroc,
although
le Royaume
many
s'est toujours abstenu
mass media
de
outlets are
réagir
trying to
et
get
même de
Morocco
commenter la
involved, our
situation
kingdom
de quelque
has been
manière
refraining
que
from
ce soit.
doing that
Il est important que le
and
principe
from
de
making any
non-ingérence
comments on
étrangère
that. It is
dans les
very
affaires
important
intérieures
that
du
the
pays soit
principle
respecté.
of non-interference in other countries'
Fédération
business
de Russie
is followed. I would
qui
like
s'est
to
prononcé
explain
clairement contre toute tentative
that
d'ingérence
we
extérieure en
have
Algérie.
always supported the position
Il
of
apparaît
Russia
cependant
that
comme clair
stood firmly
qu'une
against
stabilisation de la
foreign
situation en
interferences
Algérie
against the situation
ne
in
serait que
Algeria, but
bénéfique pour toute la région,
stabilization of the situation
dans
in
le souci
Algeria
d'un
would be to the
développement
benefit not
économique
just to the
durable et
entire
d'intégration
region,
maghrébine
but
restant à parfaire.
ultimately it
La
would be
période qui
conducive
court jusqu'à
to
l'élection
stable
du 4
development
juillet
and the integration
prochain
of the Maghreb countries into
pourrait
the world
s'avérer
community.
critique.
The
Le risque de déstabilisation
elections that are going to take place on the 4th of July would be a critical period
disparate
because
parfois
this
peu
is something that the
réalistes
people
ne semble pas
require.
être totalement entendus.
And sometimes
Le risque de
requirements seem
durcissement
unrealistic,
est
and
palpable,
therefore they are being
comme le démontre
ignored.
la situation
But
sur le terrain.
we can see that the situation in this country shows the tension that has arisen. And as a Moroccan,
Et le
I
questionnement
think
politique et institutionnel
that this
qu'elle
transition period
puisse
in
permettre l'ouverture d'un
Algeria
dialogue franc entre nos deux pays
would allow
dans le
us
but d'une
to start
normalisation des
a
relations
sincere
que nos deux
dialogue
peuples
between
frères appellent de
all
leurs
these
vœux.
countries to normalize the relations
pourrait
between
s'inscrire
our
dans le
two
contexte
nations, which are brotherly
de la main
nations.
tendue
And this
lancée par
dialogue
Sa
could
Majesté
become
Mrs. Roi du Maroc
a
le
part of
6
the
novembre dernier,
context that
invitant l'Algérie à
is
dépasser les
exemplified by the
différends
extended
et
head
à
of
la
Morocco
création d'un
to
mécanisme
Algeria,
politique
who
conjoint
invited
de dialogue et de
Algeria
concertation devant conduire à la
to
réouverture
create
des
a
frontières
mechanism for
terrestres entre les deux
dialogue
pays fermés depuis 25 ans,
and
ce qui est une
a
aberration
permanent
politique,
set of
économique,
discussions between the two
géographique
countries, which
et
has
culturelle.
stopped for many years. That would stop the
Mesdames, Messieurs, un
aberrations
autre
in the
pays du
region,
Maghreb,
cultural and
la Libye,
otherwise.
connaît
Ladies
une
and
forte
gentlemen,
instabilité depuis
another country
l'éclatement
of
de la crise en 2011,
the region,
soit sur le plan
Libya,
politique, économique
has been going
et
through
sécuritaire.
instability since
La
2011,
Libye
both
aujourd'hui est
politically,
l'état failli
economically,
et
and
une zone de non-droit
from the
où
standpoint of
pullulent et
security.
prospèrent toutes les formes de trafic.
Libya has become a
De nombreuses
failed
rencontres
state, a
internationales, dont celle
bankrupt
qui a
state.
abouti à l'accord fondateur
And,
d'escalade au Maroc,
and there are lots of
l'accord le
different
plus
types of
inclusif
crime that
de
exist there,
l'histoire à ce jour,
rampant there.
ont permis de jamais interrompre
After
le dialogue
the
au Maroc.
negotiation in
Aujourd'hui,
Skirat,
plus que
Morocco,
jamais,
we
une
were able
sortie
to
de crise
maintain
est
the
nécessaire
dialogue.
pour
And
stabiliser un pays
today, more than
qui doit
anywhere,
s'engager dans la refonte de ses
the
institutions
exit out of the
et dans sa
crisis
reconstruction.
would help stabilize
Pourtant,
the country
cette sortie
that
de
needs
crise
to
reste difficile à obtenir.
restore
Preuve en
its
est
institutions
la
and
toute
get out of the
récente
crisis.
offensive menée par le maréchal
Just recently,
qui a fait plus de 220 morts, dont de très
there
nombreux
was an
civils.
attack on Field Marshal
Le risque
Haftar. There were a lot of
d'enlisement
people
est
that
bien réel
were
dans ce combat pour le contrôle
killed.
de Tripoli.
And the risks are
D'un côté,
really high,
le maréchal Haftar
especially in Tripoli, where Marshal Haftar
est considéré
is on
comme
one
un
side,
rempart contre les
and
islamistes,
he is
et de l'autre,
essentially the outpost of the fight against the Islamists. And on the other hand, we have al-Sarraj, who reunited against him the
l'engagement et l'implication de toutes les
loyal
bonnes volontés est
forces of the
nécessaire.
government.
Il faut tout faire pour éviter un scénario tel que celui de la Syrie.
Goodwill is necessary on both sides. We need to avoid the Syrian scenario where the proxy war
Compte tenu de son opposition
created
à
this
l'intervention de l'OTAN en
chaos.
2011,
Taking into
la
consideration
Russie, forte de son statut de membre
the
permanent du Conseil de sécurité de l'ONU,
speech made against NATO in 2011, that's what Russia did.
soutenir et appuyer une solution politique devant conduire à une
Russia is a really influential
Le
country,
Royaume du Maroc,
and it is
tel qu'il a déjà
conducive
proposé
to
par la voie de son
national
ministre des Affaires étrangères,
pacification.
est disposé à offrir
The
non seulement son
Kingdom
soutien
of
économique,
Morocco,
mais aussi son
as
expertise
was proposed by our
pour
Minister of
assister
Foreign Affairs,
la Libye
it
dans
can
la phase transitoire
participate
dont
not
toute la
just
région
in the
a grandement besoin.
political support, but also can provide its technical expertise during the
Le Soudan,
transitional period.
traverse depuis quelques semaines une période d'instabilité. Le renversement du président Omar el-Béchir, poussé à la démission par un coup d'État de l'armée après plus de 30 ans au pouvoir. Les révoltes sociales au Soudan, couplées à un régime qui ne semblait pas mesurer l'ampleur de la contestation, ont conduit à sa chute.
In Sudan, there was a military coup, and the military came to power, and the people demand immediate change of the military junta towards civilian government. And here, a very important role is being played by the African Union, which supports the position against any military coup d'etats. And the same errors could lead to dramatic mistakes in Syria and in Libya. Morocco, under the leadership of our king, is striving to cooperate with the international community, and tragic events which took place in Sri Lanka demonstrate the fact that, unfortunately, the threats of Islamic State and those who support it continue to commit crimes. The experience of Morocco in the experience to fight against terrorism is part of the national security program. We combine several approaches: the struggle against poverty, restructuring of religious field, and cooperation with international partners, and Morocco cooperating with the Sahel zone and African states. More than 2,000 imams underwent special seminars. Such actions would reduce the flow of migrants, which cause a lot of sufferings to the recipient countries. And we would like to enhance security in the sphere of accepting refugees. And Morocco, we are at the crossroad to migrants, and we've always been a transit land for migrants who are wishing to immigrate to Europe. And Morocco turns out to be the country who, for the migrants who would like to settle down in Morocco and continue their movement towards their future El Dorado. The Morocco Kingdom, as is seen by our sovereign, always considered migration issues under the angle of security. We continue to feel pressure on behalf of our European partners to become a buffer on the flow of migrants. It has been for 20 years that Morocco did not sign the respective agreement with Europe. We refuse to accept the migrants who left their place of origin. And unlike our Maghreb neighbors, we refuse to accept illegal immigrants, and we would rebuff the policy of double standards. We comply to our obligations towards our African partners, and we refuse to be a vulgar subcontractor and play the counterproductive policy, which is absolutely senseless. This is the policy in the sphere of Morocco. It is very consistent, and we have staged an intergovernment conference on migration issues, and which the documents were adopted at Marrakesh. And our king was recognized by the countries of Africa as an outstanding leader on migration issues. I thank you for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.